If we use any of the non-Boolean object as a condition in if, Python will try to evaluate it and get its truth value. If the value is falling under a built-in object truth value testing, it will consider its expression whether it's true or false and then decide whether to execute the body of the if or not. So there are some built-in false objects that Python has already mentioned. These are like constants which are defined to be none. Basically, the value of a variable that we have assigned, it could be none. That is considered as a false. If we have assigned false as a value to a variable, that is again considered as false. If the value of the variable is 0, so whether it's 0 or 0.0, it's still considered as false. If there is an empty string that we are testing, it is considered as false. If it is an empty list, it is considered as false. Whether it's tuple which is empty or a set which is empty or an empty dictionary, it will be still considered as false. So if we are to use these expressions in our program, it actually helps a lot when we are not sure whether the expression that we are going to test is going to be a boolean or not. Python will try to evaluate and test whether it's a true or not. So let's see a few of the examples. Let's say we have a test variable which we initialize to none. Let's use this test variable in our program. If test print in a body, else print in else body. Let's execute our program and see its output. Python truth value testing.py. It says it's in else body because here test variable has value none, which as per the Python's inbuilt false objects, it's considered as false and hence this never gets executed. Now if I mark it as, let's say, not, let's execute our program. Python truth value testing says it's in the if body. So since test is none, it's evaluated to be false, and then not a false becomes true, and hence it went inside this if body. Now let's say instead of none, if our test is considered as an empty list. Now let's execute this and test. Let's execute our program. Python truth value testing. It's in if body. The reason is we have this empty list which is then used over here in if with not operator. Hence, as per the Python's inbuilt object statements, test is an empty list which is considered as a false, and not a false becomes true, and hence we get if body as printed. Now if I remove this, let's test this. Let's execute our program. Python truth value testing, and it says if in else body. Now let's say instead of this we have an empty string. Let's test our code. Execute truth value testing. It says it's in else body. Now let's write test in it and let's see what happens. Python truth value testing, and it says in if body. The reason why this happened is because we have set the value of test variable to be string test, and as per Python's built-in standards, this test is now holding a string which is not false. Since it's not false, it's evaluated to be true, and hence we got in if body as a print value. Now let's make this as 0 and test it. Let's execute our program. Python truth value. It says in else body. Now let's change this to, let's say, 45. Let's execute our program. Python truth value testing, and it says in if body. So here we can see that we gave a 45 value which is not 0, and hence the test is evaluated to be true, and we got the print statement in if body. So this is how Python will check for the truth value of the variable or an expression, even if it's not a Boolean expression, and then if decide whether to execute a body of if or just ignore the body of the if.